After the fanfares of the Olympic opening comes the most amazing performance by America's black streak Jesse Owens in the 100 meters. The world's most superb runner makes the others look as if they're walking, as he wins the final and equals the world's record time. This and his later victory in the long jump may well be the athletic performances of the century.
As I rode down Broadway in the ticker tape parade, and as I was waving to the people that stood on the sidewalk that were giving us this tremendous ovation, a bag was thrust into the car. I looked at the bag thinking that it was a sandwich or some food. And after staying overnight, we embarked for the distant city of Cleveland. The bag was almost forgotten. And as we rode on the train, talking about old times, I opened the bag. In the bag is some $10,000. $10,000 to a family that was poor, a family from Alabama. A thought given by people that we did not know. Where it came from, who it came from, we have never found out. But we certainly do know that this money gave a tremendous lift to a son of a sharecropper, fortunate enough to win in the 1936 Olympic Games.
The land that became Jesse Owens Playground was acquired by the City of New York in 1952 as a playground for the schools that surround it. In 1982, the neighboring elementary school and playground were named for Jesse Owens, 2 years after his passing. The park recently received a multi-million-dollar renovation. But before we get into that, let's learn a little more about one of the greatest athletes in history. Jesse Owens was born on September 12, 1913 in Oakville, Alabama. On May 25, 1935, while at Ohio State, he broke 4 world records. The next year, he became the first athlete to win 4 gold medals at the 1936 Olympic Games in Berlin, Germany. Jesse spent the rest of his life giving back as a mentor and helping disadvantaged youth of the world. He died on March 31st, 1980.
Jesse, your real name is James Cleveland Owens. How did you happen to get the name Jesse?
Well, Bob, Ralph, that goes back to a long years ago when I first entered grade school in Cleveland, Ohio. First time in my life I'd ever been to a mixed school, and when I came from Alabama, being rather shy, and the lady asked me my name, and I told her J.C. and real fast, and she says, Jesse. I said, no, ma'am. I said, J.C. She says, well, your name is Jesse Owens, isn't it? I says, yes, ma'am. It's been Jesse Owens ever since.
My name is Stephanie Chris Calderon, and my interest in Jesse Owens began as a child. My father always talked about Jesse Owens as an icon of his and of poor people everywhere. I happened to find myself living in northern Alabama, found out that that was the birthplace of Jesse Owens and that there was, in fact, a Jesse Owens museum there. I began working at the museum, guiding school kids tours, seniors tours. There was an exact replica of the house that he was born into and lived in. Of course, no indoor plumbing, no indoor electricity.
How many brothers and sisters did he have?
Well, 13 total. Some died in infancy. He was the youngest of 9 surviving.
Jesse Owens' parents were sharecroppers. What is a sharecropper?
Immediately after slavery, black and white poor farmers were allowed to cultivate crops on pieces of land owned by rich white people. Sharecropping was called sharecropping because supposedly the rich white owners shared the bounty. However, you really never made enough to repay what the owner wanted. So sharecropping was akin to slavery. Jesse Owens' father was, of course, one generation away from slavery. He was a man who worked hard, provided for his family, but never looked a white man in the eye. In many ways, Jesse's family was matriarchal. It was his mother who was the driving force in making things better for the family. When Jesse Owens was 5 years old, he had developed a lump on his chest, and it was crushing his lungs. And the nearest doctor was Birmingham, 75 miles away. They had no transportation, no money. His mother cauterized a kitchen knife and cut out the lump or the fibrous tumor. He almost bled out. Jesse said that he never feared pain again as an athlete because he had already endured the most unendurable pain of his life. He talked about how running in the fields in the Deep South made him feel free. That was the only time in his busy day and his impoverished childhood that he truly felt free. Lillian, an older sister, had moved to Cleveland first. They went in about 1921-22. Jesse was 9. He was very involved with the girl who ultimately became his wife. He carried her books. They met in the 4th grade. At the time, his first coach, Charles Riley, the coach who was also a surrogate father figure, noticed him. He saw Jesse running and he was impressed. And he asked him if he would like to come out after school and practice with us. Jesse said, "I can't. I have to work for my family." He was working 3 jobs. Charles Riley asked Jesse if he would be willing to meet before school early in the morning and train, and Jesse said yes. When he realized that Jesse in competitions was running well, but looking to the side and to the back to see what his competitors were doing, he took him to watch racehorses run. He wanted to show Jesse, look at what the racehorses do. They look straight ahead. And it was also due to Charles Riley that Jesse went to Ohio State. Charles Riley felt that the coach, Larry Snyder, would be able to pick up where Charles Riley had left off in terms of perfecting Jesse's techniques. His expertise in the relay, the 100-yard, the 200-yard dashes, and the long jump were records that he set in the United States, and some of those were not broken for like 25 years. He really never talked about feeling out of place until college. That started with Jesse and the Black athletes not being allowed to live at the fraternity house on campus. They had to live off campus. When they would travel to the meet out of town, such as in Michigan, they could not go into the restaurants that the white athletes could go into to eat. On one occasion, the white teammates tried to bring out plates of food to the black athletes. The restaurant owner came out screaming the N-word and grabbed the plates of food out of the hands of the black athletes that were trying to eat.
Hitler had come to power. What's he thinking on that boat when he's riding to Germany?
The NAACP begged the athletes to boycott the games. Jesse actually thought about it, and his coach convinced him that he could do more good by going and by excelling, and he did go and he did excel and he did humiliate Hitler. He proved that the Aryan myth was simply that, a myth. Hitler's own pet photographer took some of the most wonderful pictures of Jesse, and in fact, she incurred Hitler's anger by taking the iconic shot of Jesse with his German competitor / friend Lutz Long. Hitler made sure that Lutz Long was in the front lines on the German invasion of Africa, where he was injured and died in a British field hospital. But the German people at the Olympic Stadium, they loved Jesse. They kept yelling, "Jesse, Jesse." Hitler also did not like that. They ultimately named a street in honor of Jesse Owens in Berlin. When people kept asking him, well, Hitler didn't shake your hand, and he wouldn't pull any punches. He would say, yeah, but neither did FDR. The white athletes were invited to the White House. The black athletes were not. In fact, at his ticker tape parade, he had to take the freight elevator up to his reception. He could not take the passenger elevator, even in New York. He had been promised business ventures by white entrepreneurs who wanted their names linked with his. None of those came to fruition. Jesse was not a businessman. He's the first one to say that. At one point, as he was searching for meaning, he found himself on those same fields that he had been on as a child. He centered himself there. He was able to remember who he was, who his father had been, grandfather, the slave. And he talked about that a lot, about going back to your roots and figuring out who you are from there. He didn't find his niche until he became a motivational speaker, a mentor, and a representative to the youth of the world.
What do you think he would think of this park in Bed-Stuy that's named after him?
I believe he would see that as a higher honor than stadiums named after him. When you first contacted me, I immediately thought Jesse Owens would love this. Jesse Owens would go. Jesse would be the first to say, we have to start with the kids of any race, creed, or color.
The initiative that we are announcing as a major first step towards fairness and equality in our park system, we call it the Community Parks Initiative, CPI. And the focus is on the parks in each and every neighborhood, especially where the need is greatest. These are parks that over the last 2 decades or more only got $250,000 in capital investment. It's been decades of disinvestment in our parks, decades. And again, it did cut along demographic lines. So this is an important first step, but there's going to be a lot more to do in the future to make up for this history. One thing the Parks Department has been doing a great job on in recent years is replacing concrete with greenery, with field turf, with better options for kids. All those upgrades are needed.
A playground and then this open space is really sort of a great equalizer. No one is barred from coming here. My name is Alan Juba. I am a principal at MKW & Associates. We are a landscape architectural firm based in Rutherford, New Jersey. This is a project that my firm has done with the New York City Parks Department. It was in design back in 2014. It's the first time I've been back since the ribbon cutting of the project, and it's really, really great to see how things have grown in, how well used the project is. Whoever's in the neighborhood or from afar is able to come here and use all the facilities that are here, such as a running track. There wasn't a running track here whatsoever. This whole area that's sort of in front of me was just about all asphalt, that type of thing. We felt it was really important to get a running track in here to acknowledge the name of the play space. We've got a playground for older children. We've got a playground for smaller children. There's a spray play area also. And there's even a swimming pool that we are hoping will be able to be open this summer as well. The park was originally areas and areas of asphalt pavement. Not much planting, but what plantings we did have is a framework of existing trees. And we were able to maintain all of those in the park design, and it really gives us a great feeling of the park being here for a long time with the new plantings underneath. This sort of a project where we've been able to eliminate so much of the existing, the hardscape as we call it, as landscape architects, and incorporate plantings is really important. Around these existing London planes, right up to the chain link fence, there are hellebores that are just kind of finishing up blooming right now. There are some viburnums, all shade-tolerant plants doing very, very well in the conditions that present themselves here. We were also looking to include plants that are habitat-friendly. So things like the winterberry holly will produce berries that birds will eat during the winter. There are shrub-type dogwoods here that will do the same thing as well.
What's your favorite feature?
My favorite feature of this park, oh my goodness. If I really had to pick a favorite, I think it would have to be the swimming pool that we were able to incorporate back into this playground. There was an existing swimming pool in the park. It was an above ground swimming pool. The fact that we were able to add that back in and replace the existing swimming pool that was here meant that we were able to, give the community what they wanted.
We did analysis to find out how many of our 2,000 parks received less than $250,000 in investment, and it turns out there were 215. The mayor decided to give me over $300 million to totally transform 67 of those 250 parks. As a result of this initiative, we'll be transforming 65.5 acres of urban parkland. So we're very excited about the Community Parks Initiative.
I've always felt that if you can't go back from where you have come to give a helping hand to those who are less fortunate than you, then all the things that you have gained as I sit here becomes a hollow thing to you.
Please like, subscribe, comment, and share if you enjoyed this video.